The cold wind rolled across the quiet lakeside town as if it carried a warning no one had heard in time. On a narrow wooden path near the water, a woman knelt in the dirt, clutching her tiny trembling dog to her chest while shadows loomed over her. The world felt painfully silent except for her racing heartbeat and the distant echo of footsteps growing closer. She had lived alone for months, trying to rebuild a fragile sense of peace, never imagining that cruelty would find its way to her doorstep on a gray afternoon that would change everything. Before we go deeper into this emotional journey, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe if you believe in kindness, second chances, and stories that remind us humanity still matters. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that need them. Emily had always loved the calm of the lake. After her husband deployed overseas, she moved into the small wooden cabin hoping that quiet mornings and long walks with her little dog Milo would ease the loneliness. She worked from home, kept to herself, and smiled politely at neighbors, but beneath her calm routine lived a constant ache of missing someone who had once filled every corner of her life with strength. Letters from her husband came rarely, each one filled with simple reassurances that he was safe, that he was proud of her resilience, and that one day they would sit together on the same dock watching the sunset again. Life felt predictable until the day strangers began circling the neighborhood. They were loud, careless, and carried the kind of energy that made people lock their doors earlier than usual. Emily tried to ignore them, focusing instead on Milo's playful jumps and the gentle rhythm of waves against the shore. But unease crept into her routine like a shadow stretching longer each evening. She told herself she was overthinking, that nothing truly bad could happen in a place that had always felt so peaceful. The afternoon everything changed started like any other. Emily walked along the wooden path with Milo, the mountains in the distance painted with pale winter light. She felt a brief moment of calm, unaware that two men had been watching her from afar, mistaking her solitude for weakness. Their presence shattered the fragile sense of safety she had built around herself. Fear wrapped around her like ice as they approached, their harsh laughter echoing in the open air. She held Milo tighter, trying to stay strong, but the world suddenly felt too heavy for one person to carry alone. In the chaos that followed, Emily's strength surprised even herself. She shielded Milo with her body, refusing to let go despite the overwhelming fear. The small dog barked bravely, his tiny frame trembling but determined, as if he understood that loyalty sometimes meant standing firm even when hope felt distant. The lake behind her reflected a sky that seemed indifferent, yet somewhere beyond the path, footsteps approached with a different energy, one filled with urgency rather than cruelty. A man in military fatigues ran toward the scene, accompanied by a trained dog moving with focused precision. The tension shifted instantly. The strangers, who moments ago seemed so confident, hesitated under the sharp presence of someone who carried discipline in every step. Emily barely registered what was happening as the situation dissolved into confusion and retreat. The strangers fled, leaving behind a silence that felt heavier than noise. The rescuer knelt beside her, checking that she was safe, his expression firm yet deeply compassionate. Later, as Emily sat inside her cabin wrapped in a blanket, she realized how close she had come to losing more than just her sense of security. Her hands shook as she stroked Milo's fur, whispering quiet thanks to the universe for sending help at the exact moment she needed it. The rescuer's calm presence reminded her of someone she knew all too well. The way he moved, the steady confidence in his eyes, and the quiet reassurance he offered stirred memories she had tried to keep locked away. That night, Emily stared at an old photograph of her husband, a Navy SEAL whose life had always balanced between danger and duty. She remembered the day he left, promising that strength was not about never feeling fear but about standing up again after it. For months she had felt alone, carrying the weight of waiting, never knowing how close his world and hers truly were. The realization that people like him existed everywhere, watching over strangers without expecting recognition, filled her with unexpected comfort. Days passed, and the town began to heal from the shock. Neighbors who had once kept their distance stopped by with warm meals and gentle smiles. Emily realized that isolation had made her forget how deeply communities could care for one another. The man who had helped her returned once more to check on her, bringing quiet reassurance that she was not alone. Though he never spoke much about himself, his presence felt like a bridge between her past and the uncertain future ahead. One evening, a letter arrived that made her hands tremble. Her husband was coming home sooner than expected. The words blurred through tears as relief washed over her. She thought about everything she had endured, the fear she had faced, and the courage she had found within herself despite believing she was fragile. She understood now that strength did not always roar. Sometimes it survived in quiet moments of holding on, of protecting what you love even when the world feels unfair. As the day of his return approached, Emily walked again along the wooden path with Milo trotting happily beside her. The lake looked the same, but she felt different. The memory of that terrifying afternoon no longer defined her. Instead, it became a reminder of resilience and unexpected kindness. She watched the horizon, imagining the moment she would finally see her husband walking toward her, unaware of how close danger had come to her life while he was away serving others. Before we reach the ending, here's a special request: comment below with one word that represents hope to you. Your words might inspire someone else who needs strength today. When her husband finally arrived, the reunion felt less like a dramatic moment and more like a quiet exhale after holding her breath for too long. He listened as she shared what had happened, his eyes reflecting both pain and pride. He understood that bravery had not belonged only to him in distant places, it had lived in her all along. Together, they stood on the dock as the sun dipped behind the mountains, Milo wagging his tail between them, the air filled with a peace that felt earned rather than given. Emily realized that life would never be completely free from hardship, but it could be filled with people who choose compassion over cruelty. The experience had changed her perspective, reminding her that even in moments of darkness, someone might be running toward you with the intention to help rather than harm. She looked at her husband, seeing not just a soldier but a partner who believed in her strength as much as his own. If this story touched your heart, take a moment to like, share, and leave a comment letting us know how it made you feel. Your engagement keeps these meaningful stories alive and reminds others that even in the toughest moments, hope can still find its way back home.